Welcome, Middlers, to the Medium in the Middle podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I take you on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual exploration. I am a Reiki master teacher, a spiritual and business mentor, and of course, a psychic medium. And I am here to share my story and help you tap into your extraordinary abilities. Join me every Wednesday as we dive into the realms of intuition, energy healing, and all things mystical. Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just dipping your toes into the magical waters, this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration, guidance, and a whole lot of lessons and laughter along the way. Let's get started. Hello, Middlers. Welcome to episode 282. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle, and I have a good one for you today. Again, happy belated Thanksgiving to all my fellow Canadians. We just came off of Thanksgiving weekend, and mine started off with seeing Theresa Caputo live on Friday night. And this podcast is going to be all about the experience, what I learned, what I noticed, what I was surprised by, what was unexpected. It was truly a mind-blowing experience, and I learned a lot of things, and I want to share that with you guys because I also received a lot of messages on Instagram saying that a lot of you have gone to see her live. I only heard good feedback. I only heard how good it was, how much you enjoyed it. So I also had an amazing time coming from watching her show, The Long Island Medium, back in 2011 for years and years and years, to now seeing her live. She is really small and she was wearing huge heels. Her legs are incredible. That was the first thing I noticed. Her legs are so muscular, maybe because she walks in heels all the time. But yeah, we're going to do a full recap and breakdown on today's episode. I cannot wait to share these stories. We were crying, we were laughing. Here we go. So if you don't know who I'm talking about, Theresa Caputo is the Long Island Medium, and she had a show, The Long Island Medium. It started back in 2011, and it was on air for years and years and years. She was my first experience with mediumship. She was the first thing to catch my attention, which is why this was so special, but I'll talk about that later. Anyways, she has been practicing mediumship for well over 20 years, but she's been a medium since she was 4 years old, and she's now 58, so that's 54 years of mediumship. She also has a podcast called Hey Spirit. So if you're looking for another mediumship podcast, she shares her readings on Hey Spirit. I really like it. So you can check her out too. This is not an ad, and I will just share why this was so special to me in a moment. But yeah, that's just a little bit about her. If you don't know who the Long Island Medium is, you might have seen her on TV. She has a really big poofy hair. She's small, from Long Island with the whole accent and everything. So I do want to start with why this was so special to me and also divine timing, as always. If you are a new listener or if you've been here for a long time, you may or may not know. I would definitely say I've not been a medium my whole life. It just turned on one day. And my explanation whenever people used to ask me, what do you mean that you had nothing when you were younger? You had none of this, none of that. And the only thing I used to say was, sometimes when I would talk about spirit, weird things would happen, but that's all. Like the TV would flicker, the lights would flicker, the TV would shut off, something would fall off a shelf. And it was usually around the Theresa Caputo show. So when I was watching this show, I remember I was working at the Fairmont Banff Springs, living in Staffacom, and I would watch it for hours with my roommate. And we would just walk back to back to back shows. This was way before I was a medium. This was probably in 2011 when the show launched. I didn't realize I was a medium till around 2018. So I used to watch her show, and I wouldn't say I was a skeptic at that time, but I definitely wasn't a believer. And I vividly remember watching her show thinking to myself, there's no way these people are such good actors that they could be faking their reactions. The show was her giving readings at her home. So people would come to her home and she would do a reading on her kitchen table. And I didn't necessarily remember the readings. I just remember people's reactions. They would cry at a drop of a hat. They were shocked. They were, oh my God, no way. And I just thought to myself, I used to always think to myself, there's not that many good actors in the world. And if there were, like, Hollywood wouldn't exist. Like, if everyone could cry at the drop of the hat, if everyone could show these raw, real emotions so quickly and easily, we would not have Hollywood. And that was all I thought in my head when I used to watch her show. This has to be real because the reactions of people. It wasn't about what she was saying. It wasn't about the information. It was just how her sitters were reacting. I just thought to myself, this has to be real. And then I went on for 7 more years, not thinking I was a medium, not knowing any information. Back at this time, I was very muggle. Like, I was working at the Fairmont. I was young. I was in my early 20s. I wouldn't even say I was intuitive. Like, I didn't play with tarot cards. I didn't, like, zero witch stuff, zero woo woo. My only piece to the puzzle here was I used to watch Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, on TV, being so impressed that these people were either the best actors in the world or maybe this stuff was real. So I have a Facebook account that I use for work, or I have a private Facebook group for my Reiki students. So sometimes I'm posting things in there or whatever it may be. So one day I opened Facebook and there was an ad for Theresa Caputo and it said she was coming to Calgary. And literally my jaw dropped. I was like, what do you mean she's coming to Calgary? Calgary is 1.5 hours away from Banff. So it's like our closest city. And this was the first week of October. And it said that she was coming on October 10th. And my birthday was October 8th. So I went to go see if there were still tickets left. There were still tickets left. I immediately was like, I'm going. I don't care if I go alone. And then I thought, well, maybe I should ask people. I'm sure people would want to go. So I started asking people. I posted on Instagram. If anyone wants to meet me there, I posted what section I was going to be in. So we had a little midler section. I got to meet a few people. So this was the week before I saw the ad, randomly opened Facebook, saw the ad for the first time, and I follow her and everything. I didn't see this, that she was going to be in Calgary. Even when I was asking all my friends who wanted to come, my one very good friend was like, oh, I have tickets to her the night before in Edmonton. I bought those tickets before she was coming to Calgary. And I was thinking, like, how did you not tell me you were going to see Theresa Caputo? But she might not know that I would really like her. So anyway, she went on the Thursday night in Edmonton, and then on the Friday, it was in Calgary. So I bought my tickets. We got our section. We were locked in and ready to go. And I just thought, what a birthday gift. My birthday was October 8th. And October 10th, I would be going to see Theresa Caputo live in Calgary. I was so excited, and I only had to wait a week. Okay, so I'm going to share how the entire experience was, some of the stuff that came through. I will give a trigger warning. She did talk about how people died, and there is a story about someone unaliving themselves, but it was the most powerful story. So if that is not something you want to listen to, you can stop right here. But it was the craziest part of the show, so I have to share it. Just a few quick announcements before we get into the rest of this episode. This weekend, October 18th and 19th, is Reiki Level 2. I still have a few spots left if you want to join that training. The Strategic Business Planning Masterclass is next week. Holy cow, that came up quick. So it's on October 25th. If you are a small business owner, this is going to help you plan your 2026 business year. We review 2025 and then we plan for 2026. The new year is going to be here just as fast as October 25th is going to be here. Holy cow. I will leave the link to register down below in the show notes. It's less than $300. It's a 3.5 hour masterclass. I will promise you that you will make more money next year than you did this year in your business if you follow everything I teach you. So register for that. Block off the time. If you can't make it live, the replay is included, and then you're going to save that replay and you're going to do it next October and next October and next October. It's the forever returning ROI because you only need to buy this workshop once and then you're going to do it every year so that every year you make more money in your business than the last year. Every year you make more money in your business than the last year. Rinse and repeat, people. Less than $300 Canadian. I share my business brain with you once a year. So I love, love, love that course. The next Reiki Level 1 is November 8th and 9th, and the last mediumship practice circle of the year is November 15th. There won't be a mediumship practice circle in December. As always, all the links you need are down below in the show notes or on my website, themediuminthemiddle.com. If you have any questions about the masterclass, feel free to email me. You can message me on my website if you want to make sure that it's a good fit for you. But I cannot stress this enough. This will be the best $300 you spend in your business. All right, jumping right into the story. We are heading to Theresa Caputo. It's Friday night. I'm so excited. We have a car full coming from Banff. There are people coming from Calgary. There are middlers that I have never met before that are also coming. We all sat in the same section. And the show was being held at a casino. I had never been to this casino before, and the two girls that I went with in the car, they had been to the casino, so they were trying to explain to me like where the parking is, because I got an email that said that there was parking and overflow parking. And when you put in the directions were like parking, overflow parking, events, casino, like you could go a bunch of different ways. And I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting some big to do. I don't know. So the girls were like, oh yeah, like I think I know where the show would be, blah, blah, blah. So I had it put into the overflow parking. And I worked on Friday night, so we weren't there very early. We left Banff at 6. My plan was to get there by 7:30, and the show was at 8. So I really did not schedule in at all time for parking, but also just with getting off work at 5:30, leaving Banff by 6, getting there by 7:30, show was at 8. Like there was really no more time we could add in. So I'm getting off the highway of where I'm supposed to go, and there's cars backed up. All you see is red brake lights. And my first thought is, oh no, I did not account for parking at all. And then I'm like, oh, we're going to miss it. I'm going to be late. Oh my gosh, why didn't I think about this? I didn't think it would be this busy. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting, onto the street there was backed up parking. So we're riding the brake lights all the way in, and I'm just shaking my head thinking like, how did I mess this up? How did I not plan for parking? And then as we're standing in the line, the girls are like, oh, like we didn't manifest parking. And then I was thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't manifest parking either. I didn't ask for it. I didn't anything. So I was just thinking to myself, oh no, how did I completely miss this piece of everything? So we're waiting in the line, thinking we're like, oh, we didn't manifest parking. And I was like, don't worry. Do you know who's in this car? We are going to be fine. It's the three of us. Like, we're going to be fine with parking. I'm like, I have no worries. So two lanes are becoming one. We're going slow. There are people directing traffic everywhere because there's so much traffic. So we're standing in the one line. We are told to turn left. We're standing in the other line. They're sending people to this parking lot. They're sending people to that parking lot. They're sending people to another parking lot. We're waiting. I was just thinking, okay, I'm holding the manifestation that we're going to get parking, but I don't even see a spot. Like, I don't even know where they were putting all these cars. There was like packed parking lots everywhere. So we're waiting. Where we were coming in, our lane was stopped and they had the other lane going. So the lane going the other way and then another lane going left. Those two lanes were moving. We weren't moving, and they weren't moving very fast. And then all of a sudden, the parking lot to the left of us was completely full. They opened up the front row of parking. So where the curb was, there was like room for another row of cars. The entire rest of the parking lot was packed. Somehow they fit in one more row in the front. So as soon as they let our row start moving, we were the fifth car in the front row of this front row parking spot. And we all just started laughing. We were like, of course the front row opens up for us. We're the fifth car in, parked, walk across the street, casino's right there, easy peasy. We were laughing. We're like, of course we got front row parking when everything was sold out, which also meant that going out was a breeze because we were in the front row. Amazing. Okay, so we go in, we find our seats. We still had about 10 minutes before the show started. We were in the very back corner because we bought tickets the week before. All that was left was kind of like the back corners, which was fine. We had a great view. So the show starts, she walks on stage and she gives a very small speech. I would say she talked for 5 to 8 minutes, explaining who she is, explaining what she does, kind of the same thing that she does in the intro of the show. So if you ever watched her show, very similar things, how she works with spirit, how long she's been doing this. So then she explains how she's going to read, what she's going to do. And one of the biggest things she said, which I thought was interesting, was essentially, if I'm not looking directly at you, she said it very kindly, but like the reading's not for you. She says, sometimes I'm on one side of the room and there's people standing up and jumping and waving their arms on the other side of the room, thinking that it's the spirit for them. And she explained, she's like, spirit is smart. They're going to say things that are going to hit multiple people, but I will be standing in front of the person that I am reading. And I was like, who would jump up and down and wave their hands when she was asking for certain people? But then, of course, it did happen the very first reading that she did. And I was just laughing. I was like, she just said, don't do that. But I get it. I get it. You know, there's desperation of wanting the reading and wanting it to be your person. So she walks off the stage and quite literally, she was not off the steps. And she said, okay, I have a mother here, died like this. And she's looking directly at this man in the front row. And he has his kid with him. So he has 3 kids with him. One's like a baby and his wife. And she even stops. She's like, oh, cute baby. No, baby. And then she's like, yeah, so the mother, whose is it? And she's looking directly at him. And then I don't know if the woman behind took it or if it was her husband. But anyway, she ended up reading the lady behind him. I forget how she segued into that. So she talked to this woman and then her sister was there. She talked to her loved ones. And then she went back to the man in the front row and she stared at him and she said, okay, your mom's still here and wants to talk to you. So are you going to keep ignoring me or do you want to talk to her? And the guy just put his head down. And she said, I tried to do this earlier, but, you know, she's still here. So, and she just goes into it. And his head slowly goes lower and lower. And he's wearing a hat. And she's saying all of these like really powerful healing messages. And then he starts to cry. You can see his face getting wet. You can see the tears dropping down. And then the whole audience is crying with him. And it was really amazing because she was just like, are you going to keep ignoring me or are you going to talk to your mom? And one of the things she said at the beginning in her speech that I thought was really interesting was that you're going to witness a lot of healing tonight. And Spirit's very smart, you know, the way that they have me work, the way that they have me say, it's going to impact a lot of you. There's going to be a lot of healing done tonight, healing messages. And I remember thinking, what does she mean, healing messages? Like, what? Healing messages? There's going to be healing tonight. I just thought it was interesting that she said that. I know mediumship is healing, but I was very intrigued by that introduction of it. And that ended up being my biggest lesson was not that I forget how healing mediumship is, but I forget how healing mediumship is. And watching her do what she was doing and watching, you know, the best of the best of the best. And not to saying that just because she's famous and have a TV show, she's the best. But after watching her, she's the best I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of mediums. I've been in a lot of group readings. I've worked with a lot of mediums. I've booked with a lot of mediums. You can just tell she has been doing this for many, 54 years. And it's like watching the Olympian of your sport. It's like, that's the only way I could describe it. It's like watching the Olympian of your sport do your sport, you know, perfectly. Every line she said, every eye contact she made, every message she delivered, it was flawless. She did not skip a beat. She did not miss a second. She did not get anything wrong. Anyways, I'll go through that. But the whole time I was like, wow, like this is what mediumship Olympics are. Like she is an Olympian in mediumship. So she talked to those 2 people in the corner. They were like right in the section as she walked off the stairs. They were sitting there and there was a bunch of different sections. The very interesting thing that I noticed right off the bat was the way she transitioned. So she said thank you to each person. She said, thank you, God bless you. Thank you for letting me read your loved ones, like sending you my condolences. She had a little speech that she said at the end, like, my condolences for your loss. Thank you very much. Like, may God be with you, something like that. It was like a fast little one-liner. And then I was thinking, how is she going to transition to the next person? She literally turned on her heel, looked at someone behind, and while she was turning, she was already saying the next person. She'd be like, okay, I have a man here that died, da-da-da-da-da. And she'd turn around, look directly at the person, and she's like, yeah, so your husband? And, you know, they would start crying, and she would say, this, does that make sense? This, does that make sense? I was like, she didn't even take a pause. She said thank you to the first person, turned on her heel, was already talking and just made eye contact with the person behind. She knew exactly who the person was for. She didn't have to scan the audience. She didn't have to look around. She turned and made eye contact with the exact person that she would be channeling next. And she did that every single time. She would turn and make direct eye contact with the next person, and she'd already be talking as she was turning, and then they would start crying. It was incredible. Again, Olympic level. I was like, how the hell is she doing that? She didn't have a second. I'm not exaggerating. She did not have a second. She was like, okay, and thank you. God bless you. So now I have the person who died in a car accident in a red car. Turned, looked at the person, bam. Okay, yeah, it's your son, ma'am. I was like, holy shit, she is fast. So the first few readings that she did were very moving. They had a lot of very healing messages, which was very interesting. And then we got to the whole reason why this show happened. My friends were all sitting around me and they were asking me questions. They were like, can you see what she's doing? Are you trying to tune in? And I was like, no. But right after this reading, I was just saying to them, I was like, this entire show was for them. This entire show was for them. Oh, wait till you hear the story. Okay. So she's probably like the third section in now. She's maybe read, I would say, 6 souls. And she is talking to this one lady who was a bounce off of another person. And she was talking to her husband and her mom. So she's talking to her husband and her mom. And this lady was like a really talkative lady. And she kept explaining things in Alberta terms. She's like, well, I live here and this person lived there and da-da-da. And Theresa was like, you're speaking Chinese to me, lady. She's like, this is just what I don't know about Alberta. And it was funny. Like, she was very funny. And people kept testing her while talking about that. So she's talking to this lady's mom and her husband. She gives the whole, thank you very much, God bless you, turns on her heels, and she says, without skipping a beat, without taking a breath, okay, thank you and God bless you. She turns around. So now I want to talk about the hanging. The entire audience, literally, everyone's like, I can't believe she just said that. Before she even had a chance to finish turning around, the 2 people that she stared at burst into tears. Hysterics. She's like, yeah, so this is your daughter. I'll give you a moment. And we're all like, oh. Grab your tissues for this. So it was the mom, the dad. I'm pretty sure it was her grandma and her aunt. They were all sitting there of the one who had passed, the daughter. And she's standing there and she's just throwing facts at them. And they're like, yes, yes, yes. And she was like, okay, and dad, you found her like this. There was this. And he's bawling like, oh, it was heartbreaking. And then she said, and she wanted to be a teacher. And they were like, yeah, she did want to be a teacher. And one of your biggest fears is that she's going to be forgotten. You're worried that people are going to stop talking about her. You're worried that she's going to be forgotten. And her mom's like, yes, that's one of my biggest fears. Her mom was in hysterics. So she goes, all the money that I make from some of her, I don't know what she has on her website, something on her website, she is going to make a donation to a school in her daughter's name, and she's going to put a plaque up in this school so that she's never forgotten. And it was like this beautiful gesture for them. And she just kept going and going and going. And she talked to these people for a long time. The entire show was for their healing. The entire show was for their healing. Anyways, by the end of it, we find out it was their daughter. She was 18 years old, and she passed in June. It's October. She passed just a few months ago. I can't even believe they were there. And there was not a dry eye in that room. It was so moving. I can't even describe it. The way she just turned on her heel and she said, okay, now I want to talk about the hanging. And the information that she brings through was also very interesting. So, for example, she said to the dad, this passing has brought you back to your faith. I can see you going back to church. I can see that it brought you back to God. And the dad was like, yes. He pulled out this necklace from his shirt and he was wearing a cross necklace. And he said, like, this is the only thing that's been keeping me going. They said specific things about like what the mom was wearing, how they passed, what she did for her funeral, all of these things. Like it was just quite literally facts after facts after facts. And everything that she said, they were just like, yes. And they would start crying even more. Yes. And they would start crying even more. Like, oh, it was heartbreaking to watch these parents. Heartbreaking. She literally said a few times, I'm going to give you a second, because of how hysterical they were. And her ability to also keep composure, not that she showed no emotion, but she was able to just work. It was like a surgeon almost. Like she had a job to do. She was saying what she needed to be said. She gave them a second to digest the information. So it was like, ba, 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 do you understand that? And now she's saying, da, 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 do you understand that? Okay, and da, 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 do you understand that? And it was like just fact after fact after fact. It was insane. So going a little lighthearted now, she then moves on. Thank you. We'll be in touch with you for the donation and the plaque and blah, blah, blah. So then she goes to a mom, and there's a mom and the two daughters are there, and they're talking to the daughters. So while she was going around the room reading, they were following her with a camera so we could see the people, and she was giving them a microphone. So the two daughters, they were talking to her mom, and they were like kind of facing each other because she was standing behind them to make sure that she wasn't putting her back to the camera. So the girls had to like turn around to look at her so we could see their faces. And the one sister was just so animated. Every time Theresa said something, she was like, every time she would say something else, oh my God. And then she'd say something else, her mouth would just like drop, or she'd like cover her mouth. But she did it for everything. She was like, and it was like, again, you can't fake these emotions. Like the way that the surprise on her face every time she said something. So there was multiple times where people tested her, or they didn't accept the information that she was trying to give them. And she would just be like, I'll wait. And she'd kind of like turn around, look at the audience, give a little smirk. 3 seconds later, the person behind her was like, I know what that is. She's like, yeah, I know. She's like, I'm good at my job. So this was one of those times. She said, okay. She was talking to the mom for a while, and she started to walk away, like she was kind of about to be finished. And then she said, and who just downloaded the dating app? And both of her sisters are like, no, not us. No. And both the sisters were there. She's like, yep, your mom's talking about who just downloaded the dating apps. They're like, no. So she starts to walk away from them, and the entire audience can see her because they were in the front. And she just leans on her. She had like a little camera station in the center. She's just leaning, smiling at the audience, as if she's just like tick, 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 waiting for them. And then literally a few seconds later, so she turns around. She's like, yep, who just downloaded the dating apps? And she was like, our dad. And she was like, okay, perfect. So your mom is saying that she knows that she downloaded the dating app. She's fine with it, blah, blah, blah. But she is saying before he starts dating to get his will in order. She is saying to get his will in order. He needs to get the money in order before he starts dating. He needs to protect himself. He needs to have a will, and he needs to get his money in order. And again, and they're like, it's crazy that you say that. The last lady that my dad dated took him for half of his money, and he's just such a man that like cannot be alone, like he's helpless on his own, that he just, she took half of his money. And she said, yeah, why do you think your mom is talking about the will and getting the money in order and protecting what is yours before your dad goes off and dates again as he's on these dating apps? And again, a lot of the things she was like, how would I know that? How would I know that? But that specific thing, how would she know that the last person that their dad dated took them for half of his money? Her mom was saying he just got the dating apps and to get the will in order. Mind blowing. Okay, the last really impactful one that I'll share. So she was walking away from them. They were finished. She said, thank you. And then she walks to a section in the back, and she kind of like puts her arms out. She's like, this section, I have someone who died on an ATV accident. They died on an ATV accident on their property. They knew this property like the back of their hand. This was a freak accident. They were always driving ATVs on this property. They knew this property like the back of their hand. Who is it? No one says anything. So she says again, I have a person who died in an ATV accident. on their property. They knew this property like the back of their hand. It was a freak accident. Who died in an ATV accident? Crickets. I have someone who died in an ATV accident. Finally, like these people in the back corner raise their hand. So she walks, she's like, oh, you're going to make me walk all the way up there. And she was in huge heels. Her legs were incredible. So she walks all the way to the top. And they were in the section like 2 beside us. So they weren't in the back corner, but they were in the back middle. Second last row from the top. And she was like, you're going to make me walk all the way up here? And she said, okay, how do you resonate with the ATV accident, died on the property, knew the property like the back of their hand, freak accident? And she said, the one lady who grabbed the microphone, she said, oh, that's my brother. And the way that she didn't skip a beat, she said, okay, I want the blue mic to her and I want the red mic to her. And then she'd keep talking. But the way that she directed where to give the microphone, and she'd be like, and talking to the microphone, please. And I need a microphone over here, please. Like without skipping a beat, and then she'd be back to channeling. Again, Olympian level of running a one-woman show. Incredible. So the person that answered was the sister, and she was like, yeah, that's my brother. She was like, okay, and who's here with you? She's like, well, my mom and our aunt. So she was like, why didn't you say anything? This is your son. And the mom, you could tell again, just like didn't want to be read. Like she was giving nothing. She's like, oh, you thought you were safe up here in the back corner, So she's going on about this, and they're like, the sister's answering, the mom's barely responding. And then she goes, okay, how do you resonate with the number 10? And the sister's like, a lot of mediums have said that, and we haven't been able to put it together. We just don't know what the number 10 means, but it's come up a lot for him, like whenever we've had readings. And then she just looks at them and she goes, like, was he 10 years old when he died? And then same thing. How did we not think of that? Yeah, he was. And this one was really interesting because the mom, again, was like not interested. So she just kept looking so Theresa was talking to the mother of the child who died. And she just kept looking at the sister. And the sister was being like, yeah, mom, da. Yeah, mom, remember, ba. Yeah, mom, that's where, da. Like she was like explaining everything, but it was all on the mic. They both had a mic. Yeah, it was just so interesting to see. And then she started walking away from them because the show was over. So she started like walking down the stairs, but she just kept going and going. And she kept turning around and saying one more thing, turning around and saying one more thing. As she was walking back to the stage, she kept turning around and saying one more thing. And again, my friends around me were like, why hasn't she said goodbye to the spirit yet? And I was just like, she's beating it into the mother. You could tell that this mom has had mediumship readings over, like the sister now was older. So I think he died 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Like the sister was in her 40s probably, or older, I'm not sure. So the mom was like, this was a long time ago. And you could tell that they had readings before, lots of readings before. And she was just like dead inside. Like her eyes were like dark. She's like, you could just tell. And I was like, Theresa knew that she had to beat into her and give her fact after fact after fact after fact. And then she had to repeat all the facts. So she's like, okay, so he's sending you the heart rocks, he's sending you the clouds, he's sending you the butterflies, he's sending you this, and he's sending you this, but you still don't feel connected? Okay, and then like a few other times, she's like, okay, so he's sending you the heart rocks, he's sending you the clouds, he's sending you the butterflies, he's sending you, like, she just had to like keep spoon feeding it back to them. And my friends were like, why is she doing that? And I was like, because she can tell that the mom is a rock and she's not absorbing any of this. So she kept walking back to the stage and she kept talking to this kid, kept talking to him. Finally, she's like, okay, thank you. Goodbye. She goes on back on stage. She says, thank you for letting me channel your loved ones. Thank you and good night. And I just like sit there with my mouth open. I was like, oh my God. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't think I was expecting much, honestly. She was way better than she is on her TV show. And I think maybe now because I'm watching it, number one, as a medium who understands how this stuff works. And number two, I was always very focused on when I watched the shows, I was always very focused on the sitter's response. Like I said, when I was watching it in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, I was always so blown away by the sitter's response. I don't remember like what information she brought through. I don't remember stuff like that. And even when I listened to her podcast, I'm more focused on the sitters. I don't know why, but this time I was very focused on her, and I was very focused on not connecting to the spirits, not picking up on any energy, not trying to connect with who she was connecting with. Like I was like, stay off, stay off, stay off, stare at Theresa, stare at Theresa, stay at Theresa, stay off, stay off, stay off, stare at Theresa, stare at Theresa, stare at Theresa. And I kept notice I started to yawn, and I started to do this yawn thing that I do. And I was like, oh no. And my stomach started to feel like gas. And I was like, don't connect, don't connect, don't connect, don't connect. I'm like, stare at Theresa, stare at Theresa. Don't look at anyone else. Just stare at Theresa. So I was, just really trying to just listen to her. It was just incredible. Like she did not skip a beat. She didn't get anything wrong. She didn't waste a second. Every time she turned around, like I said, she just talked to the next person. She knew exactly who she was talking to. She knew exactly who it was, how they died, what their message was. And the healing message portion was just the biggest takeaway was everything she said was a healing message. She didn't go into validation about what they looked like or this or that. It was just like, this is what you need to hear. This is enough information so you know that who I have. This is how they died. This is a bunch of specific things that no one else would ever know. And then like, thank you and goodbye. And for a few of those people, like the mom, for example, or the mom that came through for the two daughters, or the daughter that passed away at 18, I was just thinking that is years of therapy in 8 minutes. Years of therapy. How are they even going to process what just happened to them? And I also thought, I hope they get the recording, because they should be able to re-listen to that. I hope they were recording, and I hope whoever gets read hopefully gets a copy so they can re-listen to it. But again, we just sat there and we were all sitting there talking, did anyone resonate with any of the messages? And one of the girls that I came with, she's like, yeah, the ATV accident, everything she said, I knew someone. And then my other friend was like, yeah, the thing she said about this, I knew someone. And it was crazy how so many of the specific details were the same for them. And then, we were just talking about her on the whole way home. So I was like, oh, there's no rush to get out. Like the parking lot was insane to come. So I kept saying like, there's no rush to get out. There's no rush to get out. And because we had like the people that came from Banff, the people we were meeting from Calgary, there's a few middlers there. We were all talking and chatting and, just talking about our experience. Then we walked out slowly. We're still talking. Then we go to the bathroom. We're still talking. Then we leave. We're like, okay, like we might as well go to the car. So we walked to the car. Again, it's lined up every direction. Now there's like headlights everywhere. Everyone's trying to get out of the parking lot. So there's lineups out of every parking lot. And I was thinking like, oh, this is going to be annoying to reverse, because I pulled right into the front row, 5th spot. I was like, I now have to reverse. And, who's going to let me reverse into a lineup? So we get to the car. We get in, plug in my phone, put the directions in, take my purse off, drink of water, turn on the car. I look behind me. There's no one behind me. There's a car, like there's a few cars in the lineup, but there's no one behind me. So I pull out and I'm like, okay, of course I can perfectly, reverse and get in line. So again, I'm in the front row, probably 3 cars line up, and we're waiting. We waited for about 5 minutes because our side wasn't moving. Again, the traffic people were moving every other side. Finally, they let our side go. And this is like a huge overflow parking lot, but we're in the first row. But you still have to turn on to like get to the street. And I was thinking, no one's going to let us turn in because they're all coming from the back of the parking lot. But I don't even know how. We got in, we turned onto the road, we turned left, like there was only one way you could turn. And then we got right back onto the highway, and it was like smooth sailing. We were out of there in less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes on the highway driving home. We were like, woohoo, like, oh my God. Like, we were surprised, but not surprised, Anyways, this is all to say, if you ever have a chance to go see Theresa Caputo in person, wowie, wowie, wowie. If you want to hear how she reads, Hey Spirit, she has a podcast, but it honestly like doesn't even do her justice. I need to go re-listen now to the podcast, because I do always focus on the sitters, and that's probably like, I don't know why I do that. So it was an amazing experience. It was a great birthday gift. My lesson was definitely reminding me how healing mediumship is, how important these messages are, how important it is to deliver these messages. I was just like, I get it, Spirit. And everyone around me was like, Steph, you could do that. And I was like, yeah, like I've done that. Like I've done group readings for 60, 65 people, 80 people. I've done group readings for 6 people. So I've done group readings before. And a lot of the stuff I was like, oh, I get information like that. Oh, I get information like that. Oh, yeah, I could do that. But not as fast as her, not as good. And again, I don't focus on the healing messages as much, I don't think. I'm like, oh, they look like this. Oh, this. But then I was also thinking, and I was like, oh, no, I do, but I don't. It's just like not something that's top of mind for me. So yeah, I was racking my brain just like thinking about all these things. I was like, Spirit did this on purpose. Right when I say I'm about to release readings and yada, yada, I'm still flipping back and forth if I want to do readings or not. I know I should be, but I'm always like, oh, do I want to add it? Do I want to this? And I was redoing my whole schedule for January. I figured out how to get 2 days off. Finally, after 6 years in business, I'm going to have 2 days off January 2026, 2 days off a week consistently. So it was just incredible. Incredible, an amazing experience. I learned so much. I had a great time. It was good to see a lot of people, meet some middlers, meet up with Court Burns from, if you've been following me for a long time, I met up with Jocelyn from Edson Emotion Reset. It was just amazing. So I had to share that with you guys, of course. I had to come on. I wasn't even going to make you wait for this. I literally said in the last episode, I'll tell you what happened at the Theresa Caputo show. That's what happened at the Theresa Caputo show. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I am blown away still. My mind is blown. I can't wait to talk to my friend who went on Thursday night. We haven't compared notes yet, so that will be really interesting. But yeah, go see mediums live. It's incredible. It's healing. And even just to sit and listen, it's amazing. I know I had an episode a few weeks ago with a medium named Bree, and we were talking about group readings, but group readings are such a beautiful way to connect with spirit, feel connected, feel that oneness of energy, hear other people get read. It's just a very beautiful space to be in. It's usually a lot easier to get into a group reading. It's usually a lot cheaper to get into a group reading. Like there's so many benefits to them. If you have a chance, go to a group mediumship reading. All right, I'm wrapping this up. This has been a long one, but thank you for coming along with my birthday gift this year. Thank you, universe. Thank you, universe. Thank you, universe. As always, I will leave all the links you need down below in the show notes. If you want to work with me, if you want to attend the business workshop on the 25th, don't forget to register. Block it off on your calendar right now. I am booking into November and December, so just a reminder to book early. I will be releasing my link for card readings first. So if you are on my email list, pay attention to my emails. That link is only going to you. So it will not be on my website. I'm sorry. It's going to clients only. And we will see how that goes. And then in the new year, my entire schedule is changing. The thing I've been avoiding for 6 years. So change is coming. A reminder to book in your appointments before readings open up. This is your last and final warning. But I'll be back next Wednesday with a new episode. If you haven't subscribed to this podcast, I release new episodes every Wednesday. I would love and appreciate a rating and review wherever you are listening. Share this episode with someone, maybe a skeptic, or maybe just another friend who loves mediumship. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, when I see you in your ears, I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.